New worst jobs in history, of the Christmas variety.
Our history and our culture have come about because a lot of ordinary people have done some really terrible jobs. And our traditional Christmas is no exception. However dreadful it's been having to do all that shopping, however ghastly being stuck with your in-laws and your relatives' children, you can put your feet up and gloat, because there's loads of people who've had far worse Christmases than you'll ever have. Stand by to find out. About the gross inside job behind the Christmas roast. Disgusting, but strangely interesting. How slimy seaweed made Jane Austen's table festive, and why Panto relied on dangerous chemistry. Welcome to the worst Christmas jobs in history. This could be the worst Christmas job. Shepherds abiding in their fields, watching their flocks by night, when lo, an angel appears, and they all go off and see the baby Jesus. It's the most famous part of the Christmas nativity story, but funnily enough, it proves that Christmas didn't happen in December, because December is the rainy month in Judea, and all the flocks are taken in for the night. So if the shepherds were good Jewish boys, they would have all been tucked up asleep in bed, listening to the Romans celebrating their midwinter feast. The Roman feast of Saturnalia lasted from the middle to the end of December. They gave each other presents, they stuffed down food, they drank till they were sick, and they nursed monumental hangovers. Saturnalia was so popular that when Christians tried to get people celebrating Jesus' birth in March or April, it never caught on. That's why they tacked their religious feast onto this older pagan booze-up. So next time you're at the office Christmas party and someone starts bleating on about this not being the real spirit of Christmas, tell them they're wrong. Shoveling down food and guzzling booze is the original spirit of Christmas. This one for me?
Yes.
Cheers. Was it the Romans who actually invented binge drinking, though?
They drink an awful lot at the Saturnalia. It's the time they're very luxurious. They eat a lot and then they drink a lot. But also in the 1st century AD, they developed drinking on an empty stomach for the first time.
Could they hold their liquor?
No, and we have plenty of information about people being sick, people throwing wine cups at parties, and also in wall painting we find images of people throwing up, right, aided by slaves often.
And it's throwing up that's central to our first worst job, which used to take place in the Roman dining room. And by an eerie coincidence, we actually happen to have a Roman dining room right next door. Welcome to the world of the puke collector. Come on. Good Lord, a room full of Roman revellers looking remarkably like the people in the pub next door.
Roman wine was deadly stuff. When the party really got going, the slaves, who I'm calling puke collectors, had to run around clearing up. Other than that, it was pretty much like our Christmas lunch, right down to the party hats.
Fiona, what is that hat?
It's a Frisian cap.
A Frisian cap? Did women wear them too?
Oh, yes.
And what do they signify?
They signify liberty. They're the cap given to slaves when they're freed. But at the Saturnalia, everybody wears them because it's the idea that this is the time where the poor and the rich and even the slaves will sit down with their masters. And everybody is equal for, let's say, about a week of the year.
So Eric doesn't have to be serving all night?
Well, this household obviously aren't playing the egalitarian game because not every Roman household does that. So at the Saturnalia, so he's having to stand up, he's still having to work.
Eric, this is an egalitarian household. You can sit down, mate. I'll do your job.
Thank you very much.
John, have you got one of those caps? Can you hold my pipe?
There's a common belief that Romans had a room called a vomitarium where they used to throw up. Sadly for me, it's not quite true.
Hang on. Dave's chucked up. That's disgusting.
You're the slave, so you've got to clear up. He's not going to do it.
Of course I have to clear up. This is a worse job, isn't it? Do we actually know that slaves had to clear up the sicker classes?
We know this quite clearly from literary writers. Seneca's letters are particularly rich on sort of condemning the excess of drinking and eating, and also the excess of having your slaves do everything for you, even clearing up puke.
Puke collectors had to be prepared to do anything. To their masters, they were human tools who had to be invisible.
There are some things you can't do. You can't laugh at their jokes, you can't hiccup, you can't sneeze, you can't cough, or they're going to beat you. And even in some households, such as the freedman Trimalchio's house, he goes for a pee, he washes his hands, and he might dry his hands on your hair.
Claire, you're not going to throw up as well, are you?
No, I hope not, because women who threw up were considered loose women, possibly adulterous.
You hold on to it then, mate. How many days a year did I have to do this?
It's a 365-day-of-the-year job because you're the slave, they don't have dinner without you, so you have to do it. At the Saturnalia or our Christmas, you might get extra food. Even the meanest master would give you extra wine, so you do get something.
This is quite foul, right? Just about mop that up, don't you think? Yeah. But you get free food, which can't be too bad, and these olives are actually rather nice. But however bad this job might have been, at least it was indoors. During the festive season, some jobs were much worse. Actually, Claire, you do look a bit green. $27. $28. Now this is a strange job. Someone has had to do this every Christmas Eve here in Dewsbury since the Middle Ages. And it gets harder every year because this isn't ordinary bell ringing. In order to celebrate the defeat of the devil when Christ was born, they do what they call the Devil's Knell, which is ringing the bell once for every year of the Christian era. So that's over 2,000 yanks of the rope by now. And it's not just any bell. Black Tom weighs as much as a Mini Cooper. That's 43. 44. 43, that's the year in which the Romans invaded Britain, so there's still quite a few to go. Let's whiz on a few hundred years.
Hear the page and stand by me, if thou knowst it telling.
By the 9th century, the Christian version of Christmas is spreading across northern Europe. In the Czech Republic, a Christian saint, King Wenceslas, goes down in history for his reputation for charity. When good King Wenceslas looked out in the carol, the poor man who came in sight gathering winter fuel had a worst job. He was a faggoter. For hundreds of years, faggoters collected firewood to burn or sell for a few coppers. Faggots were a poor man's log.
What do we tie around?
Archaeologists have excavated medieval faggots, so we know how they were made. Bundling the twigs made them slower to burn. But tying them with freezing fingers is a painful business.
Very good. My very first faggot. Can you help me get it on my back? Yeah. I know this must look like there isn't much to it, but actually, once the enclosures happened and the land that everybody could go on was suddenly under private control,